Hello everyone, my name's Sam Tom. I talk about movies and TV shows here on this YouTube channel. I'm also doing something I call the Batman Project on my Patreon. I'm not going to talk about that here. I talk about that in other videos. But the context is that currently I'm in the process of watching every Batman movie and TV show and reading a lot of comics, playing games. So I'm very much in the Batman mindset. And I debated with myself about making this video. I put it off for a while thinking that other people would make videos like this. But the people that I watch for my movie content, being Dan Murrell and Mr. Sunday Movies and Nando V Movies, and Jeremy Johns. None of the people that I observe in the movie space have made this, which feels a little disturbing. So I just feel like I need to get my thoughts out there. I don't know who's going to watch this, but I don't know what I'm even going to title this video yet, but this video is my own process of working through the question, should I not go see The Flash? Specifically because of the actions and allegations against Ezra Miller. Before I get into that, a couple disclaimers. Number one, I'm not going to try to convince you one way or another. This isn't a debate. I just have seen a lot of people, both, content creators that I don't know personally, but also friends of mine that I do know personally, saying things like, regardless of what Ezra Miller has done, or the allegations aside, or, ignoring all of that stuff. And I just feel like that's a big step to just brush off. And it made me wonder if maybe most people don't know everything that's on the table. Because one of the most disturbing aspects of this is that Warner Brothers, to my knowledge, has not released any statements about it. And DC very recently just barely addressed it at all. But for the most part, those companies are not being forward with what is going on. And if you're not plugged into the movie space like I am, you might not know about it. So this video is first and foremost informational, just to lay out the allegations against Ezra Miller. Disclaimer number 2, most of these are allegations or reports or things that other people have said. Most of these don't include actual charges or admissions of guilt. Just want to make that clear. And my third main disclaimer is that if you're not aware, Ezra Miller uses they, them pronouns. I'm going to try to do my best to be consistent with that, but that's a process that I'm still learning, so I might miss a few. I might mistakenly say he or him, particularly because there are several people who will be referenced throughout my notes here, saying they and them can get unclear, so I'm going to try to just use names as much as I can. I do have a lot of this written down, but not word for word. But I want to be clear that I am not intentionally avoiding their preferred pronouns. That's just a process that I'm still learning myself. So, with all of that said, I have a timeline of incidents, allegations, reports about what's been going on with Ezra Miller. Again, just to be clear and forward with everyone, I got this from Wikipedia. So if you don't consider that to be a reliable source or a reliable collection of sources, you probably won't put much stock in this. I think more, how do I want to put this? What I personally think is a larger issue, aside from Wikipedia's credibility, is that a lot of these stories don't end. there's information up to a certain point, and then there's just no more information there. And I don't know if there has been an end to that, if that's public, if that's known, if that's been reported on, if it was done quietly, or if it's still just open-ended. So I am not intentionally going to leave off any information. I'm going to present as many sides as I have seen. But, like I said, I'm not a reporter. I'm not tracking down different sources. This is just what I found on Wikipedia, who, in my experience, is fairly credible for most things. I'm going to go through this more or less chronologically. So it's not exactly the same order that Wikipedia has it in, but that's what I'm going to try to do. I will get into my opinion, both on what's been going on and how that's going to affect whether or not I see the movie. I will get into that after I've gone through all of this. So if you care to know, you can stick around for that. If you don't, you don't need to. If you just want the information, I will stop with the preamble here and get into the information. The very first thing it lists, in 2011, Ezra Miller was charged with drug possession for having 20 grams of marijuana in their possession. Already making mistakes. That one I just added. Because originally, I wasn't even going to include that one, because I don't think most people care. But I decided that it shouldn't be up to me what things are important enough to put in and what things aren't, so I added it in quickly. And I made a mistake. So, they were charged with drug possession for having 20 grams of marijuana in their possession. This charge was later dropped, and Miller instead faced a penalty of $600 for 2 citations of disorderly conduct. Now, Miller had a statement at the timing, and this is 2011, long time ago. And the statement, the part that I saw at least, was just about how they don't think that they should have to hide the fact that they do pot. Like I said, I know a lot of people are indifferent towards that, but I didn't see any statements about the disorderly conduct. So I don't want to get into my opinion yet. I'm going to keep moving on. In 2016, Ezra Miller, who was 23 at the time, began a relationship with, I'm going to say, Takada. I don't know how it's pronounced. Takada Iron Eyes, who at that time was 12 years old. Ezra Miller was 23. Iron Eyes was 12. This involved Iron Eyes flying to London in 2017 to visit Miller. Iron Eyes dropped out of school in 2021. Her parents believe this is due to Miller's influence and claim that Miller has caused bruises on Ironheart's body and that Miller has groomed and manipulated her. Iron Eyes has denied these allegations. So, there's a lot there over a long span of time, but 23 years old is having a relationship with a 12-year-old. She visited the sets of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, so Warner Brothers presumably knows who's on their sets and who they're there to see. So that's knowledge that Warner Brothers has. Moving on. April 2022. This is kind of when I think people that are plugged into the movie scene started hearing about a lot of this stuff. April 2022, a video appeared to show Ezra Miller strangling a woman and throwing her to the ground at a bar in Iceland. Later in 2022, a representative for Miller claimed the strangulation was a spontaneous reaction spurred by a group of teenagers taunting Miller over their mixed martial arts skills. So, I'm just kind of putting pins in these, but drug charge, no comments about the disorderly conduct, relationship with a 12-year-old that Warner Brothers is aware of, and now we've got a strangling incident, and the response is an explanation, not condemnation, not an apology. Just in March 2022, Ezra was arrested in Hawaii and charged with disorderly conduct and harassment after having a physical altercation with patrons in a bar. Miller later claimed that they became enraged after being accosted by a Nazi. Again, no reference to the violence itself, just what I might call an excuse, what some people might call a reason. April 2022, Ezra was arrested and charged with second-degree assault in Hawaii after reportedly throwing a chair at a woman, which left an inch and a half long cut on her forehead. Shortly after this arrest, Ezra pleaded no contest to the prior Hawaii incident, the one where he claimed he was accosted by a Nazi. And I looked it up because, I don't know that much about the law. No contest. It's not an admission of guilt. It's just agreeing to pay the fine. I don't know how this assault charge ended, but it was after this arrest that Ezra paid for the previous charge. Later in April 2022, there were multiple allegations against Ezra Miller from named and unnamed sources, which stem from Miller's Vermont farm. Miller has reportedly been housing a woman that they met in Hawaii, and the woman's 3 children, aged between 1 and 5. These allegations, including from the children's father, include that firearms and ammunition are easily accessible to the children, including firearms being propped up on piles of stuffed animals, and one child putting a loose bullet in their mouth. The children's mother claims that the father is abusive and that Miller has offered a refuge for healing and an escape from the father. Further claims are that there is heavy marijuana use in front of the children, including in rooms without proper ventilation, and one witness said they saw Miller blow marijuana smoke into the baby's face and use their arm to waft more smoke in the baby's direction. Rolling Stone has also published that Miller has been running a large, unlicensed marijuana cultivation operation. So there's a lot there. I think I'm just going to try to get through these and then go back and do my thoughts, because that's what I said I would do, and I'm struggling to do that. June 2022, the Standing Rock Sioux Tribal Court issued a temporary order of protection against Ezra Miller on behalf of Takata Iron Eyes. After law enforcement was unable to locate Miller, Miller posted on their Instagram page mocking the police. Later in June 2022, a mother and her 12-year-old child were granted a temporary harassment prevention order against Miller in Massachusetts after Miller allegedly threatened the woman's family and showed inappropriate behavior toward the child, including uncomfortably touching the child's hips. The mother claims that Miller took an interest in the child due to the child's style and maturity level and had offered to start a clothing line with the child and fund their attendance to a design school. The mother also said that Miller considered the child to be a powerful mystic being who would be lucky to have Ezra to guide and protect them. I know there's a lot of thems in there because the child's gender is also not specified. Hopefully that was clear. In August 2022, a former collaborator of Miller stated that the collaborator had witnessed Miller verbally abuse Iron Eyes. Iron Eyes has defended the comments that Miller made. This is more involved. It's more detailed on Wikipedia, but I didn't understand it, and I didn't want to read stuff on here that I didn't understand. But there is something about the language and the way that people within the LGBT community talk with each other, and Iron Eyes claimed that this collaborator saying that was offensive was itself offensive or homophobic or something. I can't get my brain around that, but you can look that up if you'd like more details on that. Still in August 2022, according to a former resident of Miller's farm in Vermont, Miller refers to themselves as a messiah to indigenous people, even though they don't have indigenous ancestry, and they believe that people criticize the relationship between Miller and Iron Eyes because Iron Eyes is a Native American spider goddess who, along with Miller, will bring about an indigenous revolution. I'm going to go through that again just because I've gone through this in my head and it's still hard for me to keep track of. So, reportedly, This is not a quote from Ezra Miller. This is somebody else, a former resident of the farm. That resident says that Miller refers to himself as a Messiah to indigenous people. And that person also says that Ezra believes that the reason people criticize their relationship with Iron Eyes is because Iron Eyes is a Native American spider goddess who, along with Miller, will bring about an indigenous revolution. So again, these are not claims that I have seen that Ezra has made publicly. These are things that an unnamed source is saying that they've seen Ezra say privately. In August 2022, Vermont State Police approached Miller's Vermont home and repeatedly attempted to serve the mother of these 3 children that were staying there an emergency care order that demanded the children's removal from her care and from the home over fear for their safety. These are the children that were reportedly present with easy access to firearms and heavy drug use. This order was based on a Department for Children and Families caseworker's affidavit. Police and social workers were unable to locate the children or the mother. Miller told police that the woman and her children no longer lived there. The Department for Children and Families caseworker presented evidence that the woman had been regularly posting on social media, confirming that she was still living with Miller. Later in August 2022, Miller was charged with a felony burglary in Vermont after stealing bottles of alcohol from a private home. A representative of Miller said that the home belonged to Miller's childhood friend and that Miller believed that Miller was welcome to enter the home and obtain rice wine for cooking. Still later in August 2022, a representative of Miller released a statement to Variety in which Miller apologized for the past behavior, stating that Miller had recently gone through a time of intense crisis and had begun treatment for complex mental issues. This is the statement from the representative. Sorry, my tablet just had a little glitch. No, I'm sorry. This is a statement from Ezra Miller in August 2022. Quote, "Having recently gone through a time of intense crisis, I now understand that I am suffering complex mental health issues and have begun ongoing treatment. I want to apologize to everyone that I have alarmed and upset with my past behavior. I am committed to doing the necessary work to get back to a healthy, safe, and productive stage in my life." End quote. September 2022, an article in Vanity Fair quoted others, as these are unnamed people, as saying that Miller has claimed to be Jesus, the devil, and the next Messiah. Miller believed their relationship with Iron Eyes would bring about the apocalypse. They also believed the Freemasons were sending demons to kill them. So again, these are all claims that other unnamed people have said that Ezra Miller has said privately. These are not things that, as far as I've seen, Ezra Miller has said publicly. In October 2022, Miller appeared remotely in court for the burglary, for the case about the burglary on October 17th. That's when October. That might be a typo. Oh no, I'm sorry. He appeared in court in October. This was about when he broke into the home to steal wine. I'm sorry, when they broke into the home to steal wine. See, I'm not very good at remembering it. That's why I tried to write most of it down. So, Miller appeared in court remotely on October 17th, pleading not guilty to the breaking and entering and what was the official charge? Felony burglary of wine or alcohol. Then later on January 2023, on January 12th, Miller pleaded guilty to trespassing, leading to the burglary charge being dropped. Still for the same case there. Later in 2023, this was one of the last days in 2023. This is, as far as I can find, the first statement from DC or Warner Brothers or Time or any of these corporations. Peter Safran stated, Ezra is completely committed to their recovery, and we are fully supportive of that journey that they're on right now. When the time is right, when they feel like they're ready to have the discussion, we'll all figure out what the best path forward is. But right now, they are completely focused on their recovery, and in our conversations with them over the past couple of months, it feels like they're making enormous progress. Separately from that, it might have been at the same event, I don't know, but separately from that quote, James Gunn stated, "I will say here that Flash is probably one of the greatest superhero movies ever made." And that's the end of my timeline. I guess I should put, Super Bowl, the trailer drops, and everyone's talking about this trailer. So that's the informational part. I know I put some of my own thoughts in there. I apologize. I'm going to get into my own thoughts and opinions now. So if you just wanted the information and you don't care about what I think, goodbye. Thank you for watching. My biggest takeaway from this is that in none of these cases or statements or anything do I see any kind of remorse, any kind of true apology, any kind of admission that what Ezra Miller is doing is wrong. I just see excuses and excuses and excuses and people deflecting the questions and pivoting away from talking about it, right? So again, the marijuana charge that led to disorderly conduct. There's no mention of the disorderly conduct. There's no apology for the disorderly conduct. There's no recognition that what they did was unacceptable. Just, I think it's okay to smoke pot. Essentially, this whole thing with Iron Eyes, Ezra reportedly is claiming that the reason people that have a problem with it is because she's a goddess, but there's no acknowledgement that this is an inappropriate relationship. This always has been an inappropriate relationship. Strangling the woman, the representative claimed that this was a reaction because teenagers were making fun of Ezra Miller. That's an excuse. That's not acknowledging that what they did was wrong. That's not acknowledging that they injured somebody. It's just an excuse. Arrested in Hawaii for disorderly conduct, Miller later claimed that they became enraged after being accosted by a Nazi. Again, an excuse, not an acknowledgement of wrongdoing. Arrested and charged with second-degree assault after throwing a chair at a woman. Ezra pleaded no contest, but there's no statement that I could find acknowledging. They didn't admit guilt. They just paid the fine. Then all this stuff at the farm, guns and weed, I get that a lot of people are okay with that. My personal opinions on those are irrelevant here, but, most people, even that are pro-firearm, would say that they should not be lying around accessible to children and on children's toys. You have this hearsay back and forth. The mother claiming the father is abusive. The father claiming that this is not a safe environment for the children. This is really hard to know how much of this is true because it's just reports. There's no charges here. There's no videos. There's no documentation. It's just he said, she said, they said, who said. In particular, this long drawn out thing about having marijuana use in front of the children, including in rooms without proper ventilation. I don't know. That seems like the kind of thing that somebody that's already upset and is looking for something to complain about would just say. They would just say, the rooms didn't even have proper ventilation, and they don't know what they're talking about. I don't know, but this is the kind of stuff that I think some people might hear and dismiss because it's so weird. Blowing marijuana smoke into the baby's face and wafting more smoke in the baby's direction, that seems like a very odd thing to make up. So that seems more credible to me. But again, these are all just statements mocking police for not being able to find Ezra. No sort of statement. Those posts were taken down, but there was no apology or acknowledgement of wrongdoing. So you got one set of parents for Iron Eyes trying to get some type of restraining order, an order of protection. Then there's another harassment prevention order against a second child in Massachusetts. So there's at least 2 children now that in some form Miller has some sort of inappropriate relationship with. Also 12 when Miller starts the relationship. Then you have these claims where this unnamed, unknown person says that Miller refers to himself as a messiah and that Iron Eyes is a goddess, and together they'll bring about the apocalypse. Like, I don't know how much merit to put in that, because it's just one unnamed source, and he's just saying that happened. I'm not particularly fond of defending Ezra Miller, but, you know, if I'm trying to be as objective as possible here, those statements I can imagine very easily somebody saying as a joke, or somebody saying just to try to, you know, get under somebody's skin. That comes back later, but because this person is unnamed, it's not clear to me whether this is one person making these claims multiple times or multiple people making the same claims. But if there's any truth to that, I personally find that very disturbing. Someone claiming that they're a messiah and are going to bring on the apocalypse. There's what seems to be clear untruths, lies. What am I looking for? Obstruction with the Department for Children and Families trying to find these children and get them somewhere safe, and Miller claiming that they don't live there when the evidence on social media suggests that they do live there. This whole thing with stealing wine, like, in comparison with everything else, that seems so minor. But again, this statement comes up where it said that Miller believed that they were welcome to enter the home. There's no reckoning. There's no admission of like, yeah, I messed up. I'm sorry. Like, there are apologies, but they don't seem genuine, because there's always an excuse or this or that or a reason on every single one of these that there's any kind of a statement on. And then we get to the statement, right? I'm going to read it again. Having recently gone through a time of intense crisis, I now understand that I am suffering complex mental health issues and have begun ongoing treatment. Even if that's true, and I'm willing to believe that it is, especially if there's any truth to their claims about being the Messiah. I'm willing to believe that there's some mental health stuff going on. But that's not an acknowledgement of wrongdoing. That's not an apology. That's an excuse. Then we get, I want to apologize to everyone that I have alarmed and upset with my past behavior. You're still not acknowledging that you did anything wrong. You're not saying, I'm sorry that I did this. You're saying, I'm sorry that you're upset that I did this. That's not an apology. That's fake. Then, I am committed to doing the necessary work to get back to a healthy, safe, and productive stage in my life. Good for you. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about these children that you're reportedly grooming, these people that you're assaulting, and your very blasé behavior towards all of that. No one cares if you get more work. That's not what we're concerned about. So this is where it really starts making me angry, because years and years of this type of stuff, and not once do they appear to do anything genuinely apologetic? Do they appear to be genuinely changing their behavior for the sake of others? They're trying to get themselves better publicity and themselves more work. And then we get into the stuff with Warner Brothers. I'm sorry, not Warner Brothers, because they're still silent. With DC, Peter Safran saying Ezra is completely committed to their recovery. What about the people they hurt? And we are fully supportive of that journey that they're on right now. What about the people they hurt? When the time is right, when they feel like they're ready to have that discussion, we'll all figure out what the best path forward is. What about the people they hurt? My tablet does not like me yelling at it. But right now, they are completely focused on their recovery. And in our conversations with them over the past couple months, it feels like they're making enormous progress. Good for them! Who cares? Like, this is so... It's so frustrating to me that they've hurt all of these people and there's no genuine acknowledgement of that. And then James Gunn comes in and say, hey, you know what though? The Flash is a cool movie. Who gives a... That is not what's important here. And this is why I'm upset, because now this trailer's out and all these people that I've been watching that have been talking about this, again, I'll call them out. Nando V Movies, Dan Merle, The Weekly Planet, Mr. Sunday Movies, Jeremy Johns. These people have been fully aware that something's going on with Ezra Miller. They've been bringing it up. They've been calling out Warner Brothers and DC for not saying anything. And then we drop a trailer with a 70-year-old Batman, and suddenly no one cares anymore. Is this where we're at in society? That we will support someone who seems like is a child groomer, currently actively a child groomer, because we like a guy that played Batman 30 years ago? Is that where we're at? And this is, like I said, I'm not going to tell you whether to go see the movie or not. You don't care what I think. You're going to go see it or you're not going to go see it. All the Keaton fans are going to see it because they still think he's the best thing that ever happened to Batman. No one's even going for The Flash. And I've seen a lot of people saying that, oh, well, I don't support them, but I want to go see Keaton. Or, they're not really going to get much of the money, or they already got paid. So what does it matter if I go see? You're telling Warner Brothers, you're telling DC Comics with your dollars, hey, I don't care what kind of crimes your stars have done. If the movie looks dope in a trailer, I'll go see it. Even though we've gotten dope trailers for DC movies before that turned out to be crap. Apparently people don't remember the trailers for Batman v Superman looking pretty good. Apparently people don't remember the trailers for Suicide looking pretty good. Suicide Squad. So now we get this new trailer, and Michael Keaton says, I'm Batman again, and people are losing their minds. And it's driving me crazy. So, DC's going to take the wrong lesson. Ezra Miller's going to take the wrong lesson. Nothing's going to happen, because people are still going to go pay and see the movie, despite the fact that no steps have been taken to make up for this behavior, to actually change this behavior. They say they're starting treatment. Okay, what does that mean? Does that mean they're going to go back to make amends with the people they've hurt? Does that mean that they're going to put their salary into corporations that keep children safe? I don't think so. I don't care if Ezra Miller never works again. They're not my concern. And the thing that really boggles my mind, and it's gonna sound like if I haven't got you yet, not that I haven't got, if you are still disagreeing with me, this isn't going to change your mind, because it's stupid. It's stupid, right? But like, I can't get it out of my head. That if Batman were real, right? If there was a real guy who believed what Batman believed, and thought how Batman thought, and behaved how Batman behaved, he would not support this movie. He would not support Ezra Miller at this point in this situation. And look, there are things that can still happen between now and when the movie comes out. They can make another statement apologizing specifically to the people they've hurt. They can make a statement acknowledging that they did bad things and not just making excuses for it. They can make statements saying that they're breaking off their relationship with children. They can do things that will be more believable that they're actually trying to fix their behavior. But from my point of view, what it seems like now is that they're just trying to save face. They being both Ezra Miller and DC, Warner Brothers, Time, all of them. So they're keeping Ezra out of the spotlight. They're deflecting questions about it by saying, well, they're getting treatment, even though that doesn't solve any of the problems that have been going on. And they're just trying to make it to the movie so that then they can see how the movie does. And if the movie does well, hey, people will pay anyway. So sure, who cares? And if it doesn't do well, then we can, act like we really care and put our foot down somewhere and get a new Flash. But that's not what's going on. It's the most cowardly. I'm trying not to swear more. I try not to swear on this channel. It's the most cowardly, nothing behavior from corporations just trying to make more money. Even if that means promoting someone accused of child grooming. Not just one child, remember. Multiple children. Across multiple states. Across several years. Across countries. So, I'd love to be able to firmly say, here and now, I will not be going to see The Flash. But, as I said, things might change. And because so many people are talking about it, there's certainly interest to see it. My gut feeling right now is that I'm not going to pay to see it. If I can find a way to get a free ticket or something to see it for free without supporting financially the persons or the corporations behind it, I'm interested in seeing what is going to be a big pop culture experience, because I'm always interested in seeing what's going to be a big pop culture experience. But I currently, at this point, do not want to support this project or that actor. And everyone seems to be excited about Batman being in the film. Batman would not support this film or that actor. So it feels pretty backwards to claim to be a fan of a character by supporting something that character, if were real, would not support. Like I said, I know that's going to sound stupid to a lot of people, but that's where I'm at. So, and I want to be clear. There's a lot in there that could just be made up. People reporting, people saying things. They're not named. It's unclear who they are. It's unclear how many people are saying these things. There may be a lot that's not true in there. Specifically with the claims of being a messiah and bringing on the apocalypse and all of that. But that seems like the stuff that's more a cause of the mental health. That seems stuff that's not directly hurting people. It's just a little bit strange. But the assaults and the grooming, I'm not a mental health expert. I don't know how that's connected to, I don't know how you go from, I'm having an intense crisis to, I'm going to start a relationship with this 12-year-old and pay for their college so that they're going to feel indebted to me as they get a start in their career. So not only would Batman, if he were real, not go see this movie, not only do I think people should understand that, but also, when you get down to it, as much as people hate to admit it these days, superheroes are for children. And this is a children's movie. Not to say that it's intended only for 7-year-olds, but it's PG-13, right? It's not rated R. It's fully intended to have a large audience of children. And its star is accused of child grooming. And I think that's pretty messed up. And I think it's pretty messed up that The company is not acknowledging that. The actor is not acknowledging that. The parent companies are not acknowledging that. And now, the people that I used to look up to on YouTube are not acknowledging that because, wow, 2 Batman in 1 movie? Awesome! So, do what you're going to do. See what you're going to see. I can't control you. I can only control me. I don't want to support this.